What a pressure to be last. How are you holding? Okay, I promise it's gonna be chill, it's gonna be fun. There is gonna be code snippet. Yeah, so there is a common, let's say, ritual at the end of the year in the data community to predict what's the trend of next year, right? And I thought it would be much more fun to look at the decade of data. Thank you, Pascal, for studying most of my slide. Um, and yeah, because what do you need to do prediction? Past data, yeah, obviously. All right, you're still alive. So this is not a corporate PowerPoint. I'm sorry if I'm shocking some people. So as I said, like Pascal used some of my image. We don't know if it's still or we're just two great minds in the same room. But then I was like, at least he's not stealing some of my memes. And then I saw a slide of Nathan. So you guess what's happening. Anyway, just a little bit about me. Not an influencer. I'm a Belgian, but I've been living in Berlin for the past almost 4 years now. I have more than 8 years of experience as data engineer, as IC, individual contributor. So people come to me when they have a technical problem, not when they want a salary raise. I worked for the past 4 years in hypergrowth environment, Klarna, back market, Trade Republic. It's a company that's double engineering size in a year. I create data content on YouTube, LinkedIn, Medium. You can find me on Medium. I play too much League of Legends during my free time, and I'm a husband and a father, and this is a beautiful GDPR compliant image of my family. Anyway, if you're asking now how the hell this guy is doing everything, well, I just happen to have a cloning machine. Just kidding. It's still quite challenging to manage everything together, but you know one easy thing to do? Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm curious, who is currently subscribed already to my YouTube channel? Wow, so many new subscribers to come this by the end of the talk. So let's make a deal. If you have at least one smile on your face, you got to subscribe at the end of this talk. Anyway, let's going back to 2012 and meet Bob. So Bob in 2012 is a big data engineer. He's super happy because his company invested into an on-premise Hadoop cluster. It doesn't have to work anymore with proprietary BI tools. Spoiler alert, they're still there. He's happy to just care about distributed system rather than business value. That was a good time. And a few months, system engineers and thousands of years later, the cluster is ready. Oh boy, that would be so nice if we had something that does the work for us, right? Installation, management of the server. But I mean, what we will do then, it will steal our job, right? Well, that's the first lesson learned. The cloud didn't take our job. Technology doesn't replace people, it changed the way we work. So if you're all scared about the chat GPT-3 post that you're seeing online, saying that it's gonna kill developers, just look at the history and think twice. Things is gonna be okay. Or at least I hope you're still all employed here. Another day in the life of Bob, the big data engineer. So today, Bob has a big bad shop to run over 1 year of data. Oh boy. And his colleagues are looking at him and say, well, nice, I'm gonna have a long coffee break then because you're gonna use most of the cluster resource. And that's another lesson learned, is actually unlimited cloud resource can be painful because you're not bothering your colleagues anymore because if you use on-premise resource limit, you're just burning your credit cards. And there is a couple of questions that you can ask yourself to lower those costs. Is basically to understand how big your data is, what are the biggest data assets, what's the growth of data usage, storage and compute, the growth of your use case, how fast you run those computes, daily, hourly, streaming pipeline. And that will give you a price tag on all your data assets and your compute job, right? And here comes the most interesting question. How important are the most expensive data assets really relevant? So if you manage to get all the sketching right, you are on a good track to reduce some costs. All right, 2016, Bob, the big data engineer. Really? 2016? What else could he be in 2016?
Data scientist.
But yeah, of course, data scientist. Machine learning. Data science was turning liquid gold back then, right? Right? Well, that's another lesson learned. Data science was a dream. Long live engineering. I really like that meme because, by the way, it's a really great show. If you don't know it, Silicon Valley, this is a must-watch show, so you know what to do after this event. But anyway, there is two reasons why I like this meme. The first one is that company basically were on a hiring spree to hire a lot of data scientists because they could say, yeah, we can do machine learning, we can do fancy analytics, but they realized that they need actually better data foundation. And the other point is we need to be humble with our data maturity. So yeah, try basic analytics before trying to reach machine learning. And I think it comes into also the sense what Data Minded mentioned about the data maturity index. By the way, not sponsored, it's just we came along that they steal all my slide. Anyway, 2018, data scientists. Yeah? No, there is no tribe, it's still a data scientist. So Jupyter Notebook. So who has been using Jupyter Notebook in the room? It's a lot of data engineers, but oh, wow, still a lot. I'm surprised. You went to the dark side. Anyone can guess the output of this cell? Come on, try it out.
Fun.
Yeah, that's fun. Jupyter Notebooks are great, right? No need to know software engineering, just a few Python code, and it's working, right? You get where I'm going now? So yeah, another lesson learned. Meet the user where they are, but not too much. So yeah, from works on my machine to production. So we have been facing that issue multiple times in the past, and still nowadays, you have still a lot of tools to productionize notebooks now. But the point there is that notebooks are really great because they lower the technical barrier to entry, right? And that's what we want. I think also, it was in Nathan's slide, it mentioned we need more data people, right? But the problem with notebooks is that it's also not enforcing software engineering best practice, versioning, testing. And that's what I mean by meet the user where they are, but not too much. We need to provide those tools for other data citizens to be able to do their job, but they also need to upskill. And guess what? This is an information also we've been hearing the whole afternoon, upskilling people. So it's all about finding the right balance, in my opinion. I think one good example is DBT did it pretty well. If you look at data analysts, for example, they were just doing SQL pipeline, right, in the coding editor. And I guess like the longest SQL that we saw, you probably find it on a Google Doc, maybe, not on a Git repo, I'm not sure. Anyway, the point is, DBT is a great tool to run SQL production pipeline, but you need to know some basics. You need to know Git, the process, how it's working. You need to not be afraid to go into your terminal. Wow, it's black. And run some commands about DBT run, DBT testing. So this is like really a good balance between we provide you a tool to make things better, but you have to upskill a bit and find your user halfway. 2019. What's the upgrade, do you think?
Machine learning.
Sorry?
Machine learning.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. No, simpler than that. Come on, you can find it. That's been the theme for the whole afternoon. Yeah, just a data engineer. We forget about the pig. Like, it's just that simple, right? So I'm curious, who was a data scientist and became a data engineer? Raise your hands. Okay. Oh, that's not a lot. Okay. I mean, wow, just those people. So it's just a role name change for a salary raise, right? I mean, I'm not blaming you. I did the same. So that's also another problem, is that the data engineer role that started to be really hyped in 2019 became to be too wide. And by the way, this is a thumbnail of one of my YouTube video. I touched on that problem. But the point is, we have recovering data scientists. This is a term used by Gervais that did an amazing book about the fundamental of data engineering. But basically, those people are coming from the data science world, and we expect still those people to do some kind of analytics, right? And so there is the data pipeline to still manage, so really building the pipeline. Then we have the infrastructure that we need to work on, and became to be platform engineer, a data platform engineer. And by the way, there is still machine learning in the loop, so MLOps also count into that. So if you look at job offers today, you go on LinkedIn, type data engineer, I'm guessing you can find multiple different definitions that is about those teams, right? And that's really hurting our industry today. So please try to use different type of role. We have, as we mentioned, data platform engineer. We have machine learning engineer, analytics engineer. So I think we should use a bit more that often. Or what you can also do is just when you introduce yourself, say, hey, I'm a data engineer, but I'm spending like 20% on writing pipeline and the rest on the DevOps or infrastructure to make things more clear. But hopefully this will spit even more. Anyway, data engineer, 2020. Do you think about getting an upgrade on your job role? What would, sorry? Blockchain. No.
Too late.
No, it's a bit too late. No, I didn't get any upgrade on this role, but there was a really big trend of open source data project. And I wanted to touch about that because that's one of the lessons learned is that we realize open source is a new norm. And I get often small startup company or people doing product study reaching out to me. And I ask them, do you have an online demo? Or do you have something which is open source that I can try it out? So it's true that you don't really need open source if you have an online demo, right? But the point is at least open source easy adoption. And think about it, in big corporate or even in some smaller company, the process to choose security or procurement just to test one product is really painful. So me as a data folk, why I would go to such a process if I'm not really sure about the product, I just want to try it out, right? So yeah, tech folks don't want to talk to salespeople. I'm scared of them and I don't want to talk to them. Just show me your products, and then of course, I'll be happy to talk with you after when I try it out. First point important is that it's free, but not the maintenance, right? So not everything is all green. And I think that's one of the big challenges when you pick an open source project today is to evaluate like the community and the growth. You can look at some GitHub statistic, the number of contributors, if it's backed up by a company. But yeah, a fun story is that when I was in those company, I built the dbt-like tool, and actually it was for like more than 70 users, right? And dbt was just starting at that point. So it was really a small GitHub project. And we're like, there is no way that we're gonna bet all work to this project. So we built our own. And actually I'm not the only one in the same case. There is a lot of big tech company that has an internal dbt tool as the same that there is a lot of company that have their Airflow equivalent built in their company, right? And the reason for that is that either probably at the point when they were starting, Airflow, for example, was not a standard, or dbt was not a standard. It was too early, and that's really challenging to evaluate such open source project. But in general, it's a really, really good trend because you can see the code, you can extend it, if something is missing for you, and if the community is there, you're gonna get support in some way. 2021, data engineer, modern data stack. Here comes the slide from Pascal. Modern data mess, right? So this is a really popular picture. It's done every year. It gives you the landscape on all the data startup products. This is just huge. I mean, I'm starting my career in data, I'm just running away. It's like super scary. So one lesson learned is that the best cloud provider is AWS, GCP, and Azure. The thing is, when those cloud providers were starting, we were thinking, oh, I will be a winner, right? Someone who is gonna take the market. And at the end, if you look at that, how the hell those manage to survive through the big cloud provider, right? And that's the thing, is that there won't be a winner on the cloud provider. They're acting as an enabler for other company product, which is really interesting. It's, you know, healthy competition, healthy innovation. I think another good example in the data world is basically Snowflake, that used a lot of AWS to deploy their product, right? And they were betting on the failure of Redshift, but that's another story. And also Databricks, which has a strong partnership with Microsoft. So yeah, startups can take some part of the cake, so that's really nice. And by the way, this is a question that's come up from a lot of people starting in their career in data. If you go on a live stream on bigger content creators than mine, this question is always popping up. I had to answer it multiple times. Because if you get into the fields, it's really disturbing, like which one you should focus, right? So that's also interesting to keep in mind. The data stack need definitely consolidation, right? We cannot stay in that situation where we have so much companies. We see some standards emerging. I mentioned here ACID file format. So here I'm referring to Delta Lake, Apache Iceberg, Apache Yudi. So it's really nice because it's enabled more compatibility through the different system. But there is other open standards that's raising. I'm thinking open lineage, open metadata was mentioned also. So they're really early, but like standard about different things to avoid certain locking. So that's really nice. And the other one regarding consolidation is that some stuff would just die. I mean, that's not possible. If we saw the numbers that Pascal, sorry, you should have come on stage with me at the end, mentioned regarding the funding. This is like, you remember that peak, right? And this is the peak where money used to be cheap. And I think we're gonna see next year the one that managed to survive this crazy winter. I'm not talking about the crypto winter, I'm talking about the data winter. But I think it will be for the best for, in general, our data ecosystem. 2022, data engineer. Yes, Bob is still data engineer. SQL and Python, everywhere. We also heard about that. Personally, I get Python fighting. I say personally, it's Bob, by the way. There is no relationship between Bob and I, in case you didn't notice. Couldn't we use a proper programming language for real software engineering? So I bet you like that slide, Chris. Data engineering analytics is software engineering. That's something we realized. And so I think that's also a new trend of data people getting more software engineering best practice. Again, DBT is an example, but there is other trends. Something to mention is that Google doesn't have a data engineer role. They have software data engineer role. So some company already used to just make it as a specialization. And I think it's going to come more and more over that basically data engineering is just a specification like front end or back end, which is really nice, and not just, oh, we have, you know, those product people and those people managing data. No, they're all the same. We need to have the same foundation in terms of best practice. Python and SQL are nice. Let me explain a bit that meme, because maybe a lot of you doesn't really understand. So when you work in data, some people say, hey, you must use Python, right? It's really popular in data. But fun fact is that it's not really Python by itself which is popular. Most of the library in Python use actually C extension. So pandas, NumPy, etc. for performance reason. And the thing is that Rust has been raising this past year, I don't know if you saw, the most loved language based on Stack Overflow survey for 7 years. I mean, 7, and I'm not even sure that I can commit for such love. But the thing is, it's a trend, it's more safe, there is a bunch of nice feature, and there is other big tech trend Signal. So Meta, for example, said that is their recommendation to write CLI. But the really cool thing for the data word is that it can have a function call to the C word for 0 cost. I'm not going to go into the detail, but basically it works really nice to replace those C extensions. And Guido van Ransom mentioned in one of his last podcasts that there is a huge dependency on the C word in Python in the data word, right? Who knows Guido van Ransom, by the way? Cool. Just for information, it's not a big deal, just the creator of Python. So yeah, that's my bet. And I think we're coming back also before about specialization in different data engineering world. I can definitely see some people still, so Python will still be there as a high-level programming language to basically lower the technical entry barrier, and other people will focus more on the performance and on Rust to basically provide a Python package. So Python package, and the core is written in Rust. This is already happening. Delta Lake as a Rust equivalent, Pydantic, which is used in FastAPI, which is the most used API framework and love in Python, their core is rewritten in Rust. So this is really the next wave. And by the way, not an ad, I'm doing a video about this topic for next week. Anyway, 10th lesson learned. Oof, I'm just in time. Let's recap. The cloud didn't steal our jobs. Unlimited cloud resource can be painful. Data science was a dream. Meet the user where they are, but not too much. Data engineering role is too wide. Open source is the new norm. The best code provider is AWS, GCP, and Azure. The data stack needs consolidation. Data engineering analytics is software engineering, and Python is equal to nice, and the rest is efficient. That's easy to do, right? That's more harder to remember, but this is easy to remember if you enjoy. And by the way, I have a special announcement. I'm launching a course, not a data engineering course, a course about creating technical content, should it be written, podcast, or video. It's not about being an influencer. It's not about being a rock star. It's about putting your thinking into content and put it out there as a knowledgeable asset and sharing with the community and learning from them. I've been learning from the community so much and has boosted my career so much that now I just want to help other people or some companies also that needs a bit of developer advocates. So reach out if you're interested. That's it.
All right. That was actually really amazing. Mehdi, thanks a lot for your talk. Are there any questions live from the audience? Just shout. Should I check Mentimeter? I don't know if you. I'll check Mentimeter to be sure. Yeah, no, this is. I don't think so. I don't think there were specific questions for Mehdi.
You can.
Yeah, there's Oliver.
You mentioned that notebooks don't promote best data engineering, software engineering practices. I'm fully with you on that one. But I also know lots of companies who's like, what's the deal, right? We've got Databricks, which can indeed run notebooks in production. We don't like to see it, but that's what it is, right? So how do you deal with basically that conflict of interest?
Yeah.
I believe it can be done better, but companies don't always see the need for that.
I mean, company needs to make money at the end, right? And they follow the hype. So I think that's one thing. I think there is a lot of notebooks company. I think Deep Note and others they are actually including those things. So like versioning into notebooks, still building it. I think Databricks, I haven't followed the last release, but I think also they're going into that sense because they get a lot of feedback from customers that it's a pain to maintain at scale in production if everybody has this own notebook. So I think there is basically a trend of putting some features on the notebook, so that it will still be there, but I can clearly see a trend to had some testing, had some versioning over there.
All right. With that, thanks again, Mehdi, for your talk. Yeah.